What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? Now, I know that the Russian ammo ban has a lot of people uncertain about the future of the AK in the United States, and it's pushing a lot of people back over to the AR-15 with the easy-to-find 5.56 ammo. Now, last week we showed you the SIG 5.56 SWAT, which is basically just an AK on the inside, but takes 5.56 AR-15 magazines. Now, a lot of people say it wasn't AK enough for them, and I get that, but I still maintain it's the same picture. But I will not be bullied into AR-15 superiority. In fact, I'm here to hold the line. And to do that today, I give you the SAM5. Oh yeah. In the words of the great warrior poet Ryan Reynolds, I'm touching myself tonight. This SAM5 is easily becoming one of my favorite purchases I've made recently. It's a cool gun, not really something you see every day. It's a milled receiver 5.56 AK with a couple different things going on, and I'm gonna break that down for you now. So as mentioned, this is the SAM5, the 5.56 offering in the SAM series of Arsenal milled rifles. I honestly hate that it's come to this. The fact that the dirt cheap 7.62x39 caliber is kind of in limbo as to what its price is gonna kind of stabilize at now that the Russian ammo fiasco is happening. Because, you know, in the early days of the unknown virus of unspecified origin, 7.62x39 and other Soviet calibers were kind of an oasis in the ammo shortages. You guys remember as well as I do, for a while there, 9mm and 5.56 were worth their weight in gold. Speaking of gold, just want to give a quick shout out to Acre Gold for help making this purchase possible, as well as giving me a literal 9mm made of gold. This is super rad. I'm not sure why a gold company has a mold to be able to do a solid gold 9mm cartridge, but honestly, this is kind of a little on the nose as far as ammo prices lately, but we appreciate their support of the channel. You can check them out in the links in the description and in the pinned comment if you so choose. So if silver bullets kill werewolves, what the hell do gold bullets kill? But anyhow, this is the reality that we face. People are looking more and more to 5.56 AKs. So this is something that I just found. It was not something I intended to buy necessarily. It was just on the wall at Mission Ridge. I went down there the other day and they said, hey, we've got a new Arsenal AK. I said, you have my attention. And they showed me this SAM5 and I said mine. So as you can see here, you've got your 20 round magazine, a little odd for the channel. We like 30 round standard capacity magazines around here. But this is actually what it ships with from Arsenal. Of course, and by the way, this is not a paid video. I just bought this gun. This was an impulse purchase. But again, the most attractive thing about this gun these days, aside from just being a sexy piece of work, is that it is in 5.56. For the record, I just want to let you guys know I'm fully aware of the irony of talking about using this gun as an escape from the ban on Russian steel case ammo while loading it full of cheap Tula Russian steel case ammo. That's just kind of what I shoot because I just have so much of it on hand right now. But you know, the interesting bit is that we've been shooting this all day with this, you know, steel case 5.56 Tula, which a lot of 5.56 guns have problems feeding and firing. Not all 5.56 guns clearly, but a lot of ARs and different variants have issues with stuck cases and things on some of this crappier steel ammo. On the SAM5, that has clearly not been the case. The steel case, as it were. So, when the time comes and I can't find any more of this cheap steel garbage, it will deserve brass. So let me show you its features. Take down just like a typical AK, push on the recoil spring here, and pull up on the dust cover. Pull out a recoil spring, and we have our goddamn stiff, brand new fucking telescopic spring here, which is pretty typical on milled receiver AKs. And pull the hammer down here, bolt carrier back, and it comes out, and you can see so far this has been decently well used by me lately. And that is it. That is your takedown on your typical AK. This is why we like them so much. They're very easy. So simple a child could use it, and well, you know the rest. If you want to get crazy with it, pull your gas tube lever up here, and voila, you're done. We've done some fairly in-depth breakdowns of guns lately, so it's kind of cool to get back to the basics. But you've heard me say milled receiver a bunch, so what makes that so special? So milled receiver, as opposed to stamped receiver, means the entire receiver is made of a piece of forged or milled billet steel. So this right here, all the front trunnion, the rear trunnion, and everything in between is made of one solid piece of metal and then milled away for the pockets for the magazine, the fire control group, the ejector, the upper, lower rails, everything. This all started as one big block of steel. This is opposed to the stamped receivers, which, you know, is probably most common, you know, AKMs and everything like that. When you think of an AK-47, you're probably thinking of a stamped receiver. So this right here is a piece of stamped sheet metal with lower rails welded into it, you know, mag weld, dimple, all that sexiness. And that's where you have separate trunnions like this that are riveted in to the stamped piece of sheet metal. So the trunnion, of course, being where your lockup is contained, where the bolt locks to make sure you don't explode, and also what captures the barrel, where you pin the barrel, and all that, and where headspace is determined. Pretty standard on all AKs, RPKs, whatever, except for the milled guns. Milled guns like this one originate as, again, either a piece of solid billet steel or a raw forging like this one, just a big, blocky piece of steel that then gets milled away, again, so you can have proper pocket for a fire control group, recoil spring there. Really, this is like, you've heard of 80% receivers. This is kind of like a 20% receiver. There's a lot of work that needs to go into this before this is even remotely close to usable, but the end product that you end up with is this. Something like the SAM5 has. Pretty sure this entire fucking gun, as it is lighter than this by far. That's actually really funny. Now, why would somebody choose a milled gun over a stamped gun, or vice versa? Realistically, it is kind of like milled and stamped is like the Pepsi or Coke of the AK world. But there are actually a couple of pros and cons in either direction. It's mostly up to user preference though. So it is obviously cheaper, and it was easier for them to mass produce the AKM, the stamped receiver in Soviet Russia. These guns are a little easier to produce, they're also lighter, and just in general, they're more common. Milled receivers, of course, have a little bit more heft to them. These are heavier guns. It's not super crazy, but it is noticeable. On milled guns, you also have, most of them anyway, you have limited stock options. So these tangs are a little different. You can't put stamped normal standard AK furniture on these guns. Sometimes same with the handguards. But that extra heft also leads to what some people say is better reliability. Long term, they're also a little smoother, as you're not riding over a joint between stamped rails and your front trunnion. It's all made of one solid piece of metal. A lot of people also prefer, of course, because of the heft and because of it's all being made of one piece of steel, the recoil impulse. Some people prefer it on the milled guns, and I don't blame them. Now, one of the neat parts with this being chambered 5.56 and with it being kind of a heavier milled receiver gun is that recoil is negligible on this gun, especially compared to what a lot of you guys think of when you think about recoil on a 7.62 AKM. So as you see, just get it on target. Very fast target reacquisition. In fact, while I was shooting at that steel, the recoil bounced me from center mass to like the head area of the target. So I never really left the silhouette plate, making it very, very easy to do quick follow-up shots. Very low recoil gun, very enjoyable to shoot. In fact, for shits and giggles, I'm probably gonna put some Zenitco, like the long handguards on this with the dust cover rail. Put an optic on it, maybe a JMac muzzle brake. Not that I don't love the trumpet. Just add a little bit more heft to the gun, maybe like angled foregrip or Zenitco grip or something, and just see how stupid low recoil we can get these things. Because I've seen some people shoot these with kind of a kitted out configuration, and the gun just floats. For those of you who don't know, weight, well, may not be your best friend if you're dragging this a couple miles in the field. It actually does reduce recoil because you have the same you know, forces acting against the firearm, but you have more weight to it, which makes it a little softer on the shoulder for a lot of you guys who like to complain about terrible, terrible AK recoil. Then again, most of you guys complaining about that are kind of pussies. So you may not be able to hold this for very long. Seriously, it's negligible recoil. It's basically cheating. Another thing you'll notice, which is really easy if you're kind of like new to the AK world, an easy way to delineate stamped receivers from milled receivers is this right here. This is called a lightning cut. Most milled receiver guns have this right here. It's just a little rectangular cutaway from the steel. It's meant to lighten the gun. It's really just unnecessary material there that's going to add to the weight up front. It's really not needed for strength or integrity. Now on stamped guns, a lot of time, this is a bulged RPK receiver by the way, but you have what's called a dimple. It's this little more oval shaped, like kind of like a rounded rectangle there above the mag well. Totally different from this, although, you know, that one's done for strength, this one is done partially to lighten the gun, but also just it looks sexy as fuck. Now up at the front of the gun, you'll notice that it has a unique looking muzzle brake. This is not what this thing ships with. This is a trumpet compensator or brake that actually my boy Zach made. He sells those at his place at Schaefer Customs. But it's meant to be like a clone of the Khyber Pass style flash hiders. Or really, I don't really know what the original purpose of this is, but they are really, really neat looking. Figured I'd give them a quick little plug here, and it does look pretty sexy on this SAM5. Now they do make 30 round magazines for this gun, standard capacity magazines of course. And Brandon, why aren't you using that today? Well, the only one that I had on hand was this one here. Now I would have used this, but it is a Pro Mag. And frankly, I just like this gun too much, and I'm not gonna soil it with the use of a Pro Mag. So until I can get an actual Circle 10 30 rounder, I'm gonna be using this one. Now, I bet you guys are wondering, Brandon, what time is it? Well, it's claw time. Not for drinking, of course. I don't condone any sort of use of alcoholic beverages out on the range around live firearms. That's irresponsible. Plus, I'm not a big fan of raspberry. Literal alcohol abuse in 3, 2, 1. We have penetration. Yep, straight in, straight out, and straight on till morning. Plenty of energy left on that thing. Now the 5.56, the 2.23, it's no 7.62, but definitely plenty of energy delivered. Now, while my heart still does belong to the 5.45, I definitely can understand why in the United States 5.56 and 2.23 would be a very practical option. And if you are going to be going with the 5.56, the SAM5 seems like a pretty damn good option to me. Liking this gun a lot. It's probably going to be one of the guns that I mod out quite a bit, so I'll probably, you'll see this on the channel again later, most likely, in a slightly different form. But I figured for you guys who are, you know, AR guys who are AR curious, or you AK guys who are looking for something in, you know, the other black gun configuration, but in the American 5.56, it would probably be best to show it to you in its original configuration, the way it came out of the box, except the trumpet. Of course, these Let's Go Brandon t-shirts are still available at Bunker Branding if you want to check that out. Click on the link in the description and in the pinned comment. I appreciate you guys watching to the end as always, and I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks. Takedown is just like a typical, fuck. On most milled guns, you also have limited stock auction. Fuck. Now up front of the gun, you'll notice we have kind of a unique muzzle brake. It's not the gun, fuck.